Versatile Mage. Chapter 501. White-clothed person, psychic element. Chen Yi stared at her mother, Jiang Feng, in disbelief. She could not understand why Jiang Feng would ask her to do such a thing. However, the white cloth was covering her mother's face, making it impossible for Chen Yi to see her expression. "Are you out of your mind? How could you ask her to do that?" yelled Zhao Yulan. Even an advanced magician would be burned to ashes when moving closer to the fiery sorceress. Chen Yi would simply walk to her death. The fact that the sneak attack had worked the first time did not mean the fiery sorceress, who was now on alert, would spare Chen Yi's life. "Just believe me," said Jiang Feng confidently. "But Chen Yi hesitated. For a moment, she couldn't think. "Chen Yi, listen to me. Do it quickly. We can only freeze her for a short time. Do you seriously want to see everyone here killed by this fire demon beast? Just do what I say, and you'll be fine. Kill her, and there won't be any more casualties. The fire calamity fruit will also replenish my health, and your father's status will rise," Jiang Feng said with a hint of excitement. Chen Yi bit her lip. She believed her mother would not lie to her. An icy spike appeared in her hand. The spike was similar to a spear, but both ends were sharp. One could only hold it with both hands in the middle. The icy flicker from the sharp edges implied that the weapon contained a deadly poison. "Walk forward, don't worry, you'll be fine. Walk up to her and stab her in the heart," urged Jiang Feng. Chen Yi seemed to be very obedient when it came to listening to her mother. She actually held the icy weapon and walked toward the fiery sorceress, who was frozen in ice. The fiery sorceress was like a statue, completely stationary. The ice was transparent, so she could see Chen Yi walking toward her. The girl was less than 100 meters away. The dark flame was able to destroy everything within 100 meters. Normally, if Chen Yi took a few more steps forward, the domain of dark flame would burn her into ashes. "You weren't like this before." Zhao Yulan turned his head and glanced at Jiang Feng, who was wrapped in white cloth. "A person will always change," said Jiang Feng. "But what if the dark flame actually burns Chen Yi to death?" Zhao Yulan said in a deep voice. "It won't. You're that confident. I won't play around with your daughter's life." "She's your daughter too," reminded Zhao Yulan. The fiery sorceress was frozen. The ocean of flames that had been spreading wildly was finally under control. Mo Fan and his group were finding a way out of the place when they realized that only the area where Zhao Yulan, Jiang Feng, Shiguo, and the others stood was free of fire. They were trying to cross the place when they saw Chen Yi walking toward the fiery sorceress. "Brother, wait." The half-conscious Xingxia suddenly uttered softly. "What is it?" asked Mo Fan with a confused look. "Stop, Chen Yi, stop her." Xingxia seemed to be extremely weak. The overwhelming mental pressure had left her in a half-dreaming state. She still could not regain full consciousness and was mumbling her words. Xingxia's voice was blurred. She seemed to be saying something else, yet the group could not figure out what she meant. Mo Fan could roughly make some sense of it. Xingxia was asking him to stop Chen Yi after seeing what Chen Yi was trying to do in her current half-conscious state. "Look after her," Mo Fan said as he placed Xingxia down and hurried toward Chen Yi. It seemed like Xingxia was trying to tell the group something extremely important. However, she just could not wake up. It was as if she had fallen into someone's dream. The fact that she was trying so hard implied how important it was. "Chen Yi, don't go over there. You'll be burned to death," Mo Fan yelled from 100 meters away. Chen Yi halted in her steps and turned to look at Mo Fan. Mo Fan had spent some time with the fiery sorceress. He knew that she had two kinds of flames. Chen Yi had managed to harm the fiery sorceress once when she was careless, but that didn't mean she would let Chen Yi do it again. The girl was about to get herself killed. "Don't listen to him. Just do as you're told, and you'll be fine." "Are you seriously not listening to me?" Jiang Feng let out a sharp scream when she saw Chen Yi hesitating. Jiang Feng turned toward Mo Fan and snapped, Mind your own business. Mo Fan had no intention of involving himself in others' affairs, but the fiery sorceress had saved his life. He couldn't just stand there and watch this happen. It was most likely that Jiang Feng had found a way to make Chen Yi immune to the fiery sorceress' dark flame. It was hard to tell how long Jiang Feng had been planning this, from the ambush to the transfer, the defensive formation, and now the final killing blow to be executed by Chen Yi. It felt like she had arranged everything. Chen Yi ended up listening to her mother. She stepped into the fiery sorceress domain. It took her great effort to take that step, as it was no different from stepping into the jaws of death. However, she desperately wanted to help her mother escape the sea of agony. She had already suffered for over 10 years. If the fiery sorceress was willing to give up on the fire calamity fruit, she wouldn't hurt the creature. Zhao Yulin and Shi Guo felt their hearts skip a beat. Chen Yi had stepped into the fiery sorceress domain, and there was a chance she would be burned into ashes in the next second. However, it did not happen. Chen Yi was still alive. She was able to step into the fiery sorceress domain perfectly unharmed. Chen Yi opened her eyes and glanced at her body in disbelief. "Go, she's breaking out from the ice," yelled Jiang Feng. Chen Yi was overjoyed. As she thought, her mother would not lie to her. Although she couldn't tell what the reason was, she would worry about it after killing the fiery sorceress. Chen Yi clenched the breaking profaner tightly. The distance of 100 meters didn't take long to cross. She quickened her pace and aimed the sharp tip of the breaking profaner at the fiery sorceress' heart. Mo Fan stared at the scene in astonishment not far away. Chen Yi was able to step into the fiery sorceress' strongest domain. Does her body really have some unique resistance? No, that's not right. Chen Yi was not immune to the dark flame. Chen Yi, stop now. Mo Fan realized the truth in an instant. He burst out screaming, "She! Enough with that!" Jiang Feng screamed from the attic. Under the white cloth, her eyes emitted an eerie glow. It felt like her eyes could penetrate one's body, deep into the soul, which trembled slightly under her gaze. Psychic element. Chen Yi's mother was a psychic magician too. Mo Fan tried to stop Chen Yi, yet when the psychic spell struck him, he lost control of his body and couldn't make any noise. "What are you waiting for? Kill her!" Jiang Feng screamed wildly. After casting the mind control on Mo Fan, she proceeded to cast a powerful psychic spell on Chen Yi. Chapter End. Versatile Mage. Chapter 502. The Truth Behind the Fire. Chen Yi had arrived before the fiery sorceress. She looked into the fiery sorceress' eyes and recalled the sneak attack she had executed at the top of the hill. The attack had been extremely successful. The fiery sorceress was completely unaware of it, but what confused Chen Yi the most was that the fiery sorceress did not faint instantly when she was attacked. She had more than enough time to burn Chen Yi into ashes before falling unconscious. But she didn't. Jiang Feng did not give Chen Yi a chance to think. As the mind control spell was cast, Chen Yi's hesitant look was replaced by an enraged expression and bloodshot, murderous eyes. The breaking profaner thrust forward with full force as Chen Yi raised it with both hands and stabbed at the fiery sorceress' heart. The ice shattered. The front tip of the breaking profaner poked into the fiery sorceress' body like a long spear. Apart from penetrating through her skin, there was also the sound of metal clanking. It was the Grimsteel spike. The spike that Chen Yi had stuck into the fiery sorceress' back had not been removed and was still inside her body. However, when the breaking profaner penetrated her, it also knocked the Grimsteel spike out, resulting in the clank of metal. The fiery sorceress raised her head and let out a painful screech. The ice surrounding her shattered into pieces, scattering in all directions and cutting Chen Yi's skin. The enraged calamity fire surged in all directions like an infuriated beast, instantly producing an ocean of flames, evaporating everything within its reach. Chen Yi abruptly regained control of her mind. She was dumbfounded when she saw the flames rolling toward her. The fiery sorceress had broken free from the ice cage, which meant she had nowhere to escape. Her body might be immune to the dark flame, yet it could never protect her against the calamity fire. The ocean of flames was more than enough to burn her into a pile of bones. As the fire swept toward her, Chen Yi closed her eyes hopelessly. However, after a long time, she still did not feel the heat. She opened her eyes and discovered that her surroundings were covered in flames, yet not the tiniest spark could be seen near her. There was a strange space in the midst of the ocean of fire. The fiery sorceress was standing right in front of her. With just a thought, she could have easily burned Chen Yi into ashes. However, Chen Yi could only see the fiery sorceress holding the breaking profaner with one hand and controlling the enraged calamity fire with the other, driving the flames away from her. Chen Yi was stunned. She could not believe what she was seeing. The ocean of flames was burning fiercely, even the clouds in the sky were set aflame, yet not a single flame had spread to her spot. Why is this the case? Why is this happening? Psychic element. Why do you possess the psychic element? Screamed Zhao Yulin from the attic. Jiang Feng had long become an advanced magician and could be considered a genius, but after the fire calamity, her cultivation had never improved due to the fire poison she had suffered from over the years. Zhao Yulin clearly remembered that Jiang Feng's primary element was fire, while her secondary elements were earth and space. There was no way Jiang Feng could possess the power of the psychic element. You idiots! That bitch is not Jiang Feng, snapped Mo Fan furiously as he regained control of himself. The person in white cloth stood there, her eyes emitting a vicious glow like the evil scorpion demoness. She did not speak but uttered a burst of sinister laughter, looking at the fiery sorceress who had been impaled by the spike. Mo Fan's figure was burning in rage. He finally understood what Xingxia had been trying to tell everyone when she saw Chen Yi walking toward the fiery sorceress domain. If she isn't, then whose? Chen Yi was lost in thought, standing amidst the flames. Yes, when the person in white cloth cast the psychic spell on her, she knew the woman was not her mother. She was extremely familiar with her mother and clearly remembered the elements she had awakened. Her mother had never possessed the psychic element. Her primary element was fire, and her secondary elements were earth and space. The fiery sorceress seemed to have the power of the space element, too. Chen Yi's mind buzzed as if it had just exploded. Why was she asked to attack the fiery sorceress? Why did the fiery sorceress only grab Xingxia when she could easily avenge herself? Why, Chen Yi, are you blind? Didn't you see that it was her withdrawing her domain of dark flame all along? You idiot, you dumbass girl. If she really wanted to kill you, she could easily burn 10,000 of you into ashes. Mo Fan burst out cursing furiously. If Chen Yi had been smarter, if she were more observant, she would have discovered that the fiery sorceress was controlling the dark flame. The person in white bandages knew that Chen Yi was the only one who could kill the fiery sorceress, because the fiery sorceress was the true Jiang Feng, Chen Yi's mother. As Chen Yi's mother, why would she harm her own daughter? The fiery sorceress was friendly toward humans. It was because she used to be one. She was extremely powerful, yet she was injured by Chen Yi. It was because no one knew that she had completely lost her mind when she saw Chen Yi. She had panicked when she wanted to hug her daughter, who had grown up, yet when she saw her hands and body burning in flames, she could only turn around in disappointment. At that instant, the grimsteel spike stabbed her in the back. Her heart did not break, yet the pain was 1,000 times stronger than heartbreak. How is this possible? How is this possible? Everything she told me was fake. Chen Yi was on the verge of losing her mind. She looked at the fiery sorceress, whose eyes showed no hint of hostility or anger. The fiery sorceress was watching Chen Yi, yet she could not speak, even though she had so much to say. She was devoured by the flames of the fire calamity fruit and had managed to survive after a fiery figure fed her a fire calamity fruit. It was indeed your mother's story, yet only half of it was told. Xingxia approached them with Nanyu's support. Her voice rang in everyone's ears. The first thing that the fiery sorceress did was take Xingxia away, as she tried to tell everyone the truth. However, The evil woman in the white cloth did not give her the chance. She immediately ordered the people to attack her. After Xinxia was connected with the fiery sorceress, she immediately learned the truth, yet she was placed under a curse, the nightmare curse. The curse was cast by the person in white cloth to stop Xinxia from regaining consciousness so she could not reveal the truth. Her cultivation greatly surpassed what everyone expected, hence it was difficult to learn her true nature, until Mo Fan came to stop her and forced her to expose her psychic element. Chapter End. Versatile Mage. Chapter 503. The Unvarying Heart. The woman wrapped in white cloth simply stood there. If her face was not covered, one would see an extremely ugly face, her facial features completely twisted from her grin. She did not stop Xinxia. She uttered a burst of cold laughter and spoke with a disdainful tone. My curse should have killed you. It seems like your soul is rather unique. Considering how the situation was now, the person in white cloth no longer cared if Xinxia was revealing the truth to everyone, as she had already won by eliminating the fiery sorceress, Jiang Feng. No one else could stop her from claiming possession of the fire calamity fruit. She was devoured by the flames of the fire calamity. The fire calamity fruit can't actually help her fully recover, thus she could only forfeit her flesh and attach her soul to a new life, living in her current form as we all are seeing. Xinxia's voice was soft, yet she had used the psychic spell to make sure that everyone could hear her. Who is she, then? Zhao Yulan had already distanced himself from the person in white cloth. He pointed at the woman and said, how did she know everything about Jiang Feng? Zhao Yulan was not an idiot. It went without saying that he had verified her identity. The person in white cloth knew everything that had happened between him and his wife, even the little secrets that Zhao Yulan had never told anyone before. Psychic element. She has the psychic element and the curse element. Instead of Xinxia, Nanyu, who was holding her, spoke out. The female commander Nanyu was staring at the person in white cloth and said coldly, she's the demoness whom the military has listed as wanted even today, the disgrace of the Dunhuang military. The demoness uttered a burst of sharp laughter. She was very surprised that someone actually knew her real identity. It had been more than 10 years since someone had called her that. So someone still remembers me. I guess all my effort trying to stay alive in this completely burned body has been worthwhile. She's a traitor of the Dunhuang military whom we have listed as wanted for over 10 years. We thought she was dead, but it turned out that she has been living in a different identity. Nanyu had come all the way to Shanghai because she had found something that belonged to the demoness under the starry tree. However, she was not confident about it, but as it was related to the death of her most respected military instructor, she had decided to come and search for clues. As a matter of fact, she did not expect this to happen. She was not suspicious toward the person in white cloth's identity, and she never thought that the real Jiang Feng was actually the fiery sorceress. Obviously, the demoness who was adept with the psychic element and the curse element had learned everything about the fiery sorceress, including her memories, allowing her to live in the Zhao family using the disguise of Jiang Feng. It would have been fine if the woman had simply disguised herself as Jiang Feng and spent the rest of her life in peace. However, she had been planning all the things that had happened today just so she could get a new life with the fire calamity fruit. When the fire calamity occurred, her plan was put into operation. She knew Jiang Feng had turned into the fiery sorceress and was protecting the fire calamity fruit. Meanwhile, she knew that Jiang Feng absolutely missed her daughter, hence she had purposely brainwashed Chen Yi so the girl was determined to acquire the fire calamity fruit. As a matter of fact, if Chen Yi did not follow Mo Fan and the others to the Burning Valley, she would have personally brought her there for her plan to work, as the only weakness that the fiery sorceress had was Chen Yi. Therefore, she had been waiting for many years, her plan being to let the daughter kill her own mother. Everyone who had now learned the truth shivered in fear. The cold penetrated their bones to the extent that they were all having goosebumps. She saved your life when you were burned by the fire calamity and tried all she could to sustain your life. Yet, You still set her up with such a vicious method. Your heart is that of a deadly snake or scorpion. No, you're an actual snake or scorpion, who did not have any compassion. Xinxia held her body that was placed under a curse a moment ago together and swore at her furiously, trembling in anger. Being ungrateful was already a beastly act, yet the demoness had forced the fiery sorceress daughter to stab her in the heart, twice. When everyone was experiencing great sorrow, the woman was laughing instead. Her sharp laughter was possibly the worst sound ever in this world. Even the person who was responsible for the stabs was suffering greatly. The fiery sorceress had withdrawn the dark flame when Chen Yi stepped into her domain. She was not willing to harm her daughter, even if it would cost her her life. Even when the breaking profana pierced through her heart, thus making her lose control of the calamity fire and it burst out from her body, she still used her hand to create a safe area, not allowing any flames to burn Chen Yi's skin. Everything that happened was not enough to earn the tiniest compassion from the demoness. If she had the slightest kindness, none of this would have happened. As such, Xinxia had scolded her right. The woman did not have the heart of snakes and scorpions, but she was one of them instead, which was hundreds or thousands of times scarier than the demon beasts. An eye-astonishing ocean of flames, with space in the middle that was perfectly safe. Chen Yi did recall something when she was very young. During a heavy rain, she was hiding in her mother's hug. Her mother did not let a single drop of the icy rain fall on her child. She had never forgotten the warmth of her mother, thus she always wanted to do something for her mother who had suffered greatly. However, things were not as she thought. She had killed her with her own hands instead. Toward the end of her mother's life, her mother was still protecting her just as usual, not allowing her to receive any kind of injury. Inside the space where there were no burning flames, Chen Yi knelt on her knees. Her great sorrow had turned into tremendous anger toward the demoness. She's still the same, she never changed. Zhao Yulan seemed to have lost his mind and was mumbling the same sentence over and over again. A moment later, Zhao Yulan had told that to the person in white cloth, saying that she had changed. She had told him that every human would change eventually, which gave Zhao Yulan great relief, as he too admitted that he had changed too. However, he felt extremely shameful, with an urge to tear his ridiculous flesh to pieces. The Jiang Feng whom he was familiar with had never changed. She had sacrificed herself for him to live, and now, she was doing the same thing again. She had suffered the torture of the burns, which forced her to forfeit her flesh. She had been living under an ancient tree alone for 10 years. No matter how strong her power was now, her soul had never been contaminated. Meanwhile, as Zhao Yulan looked at himself, he was no different than the demon beasts. When the demoness urged Chen Yi to kill the fiery sorceress, if he had tried to stop her, he would have actually prevented this great disaster from taking place. He was completely blinded by personal interest. Fire calamity fruit. The fire calamity fruit might still be able to save her life. Zhao Yulan screamed as a thought crossed his mind. Chapter End. Versatile Mage. Chapter 504. Team up against the enemy. The fire calamity fruit. Since the fire calamity fruit had saved her life before, it meant that the fire calamity fruit did have some revitalizing effect. It was possible to sustain her life if they were able to retrieve the fire calamity fruit before she died. Zhao Yulan had brought the group, who was deep in sorrow and anger, back to reality. That's right, there was still the fire calamity fruit. Since they knew who their real enemy was now, they still stood a chance if they were able to take down the demoness together. Zhao Yulan, do you really think I'm not prepared for this now that I'm willing to expose my true identity? Said the demoness in the attic with an eerie giggle. You bitch. Zhao Yulan was about to make his move when he suddenly felt like his body was being held by something enormous. Not only was he unable to move, his mind was under the pressure of some evil presence. Demon torture. Enjoy your time repenting. Try and think of how you should apologize to the mother and daughter in hell. The demoness laughed sinisterly once again. Zhao Yulin looked extremely terrified. He looked around him and saw an enormous ghastly figure standing behind him. The ghastly demon was standing tall and straight, pitch black like an evil spirit. It bent over and grabbed Zhao Yulin with its hands, closing tight. Zhao Yulin could not feel any pain from his body, yet he felt like his soul was being clenched tightly, making him scream in agony. "I won't let you have your way either," yelled Shigua furiously, planning to take down the demoness himself. "Old man, I have a treat for you too." The demoness was fully prepared. As Shigua and Zhao Yulin were busy handling the fiery sorceress, the demoness had already cast lots of curse spells on them. Shigua was the most difficult to deal with among them, thus it went without saying that the demoness had prepared a huge gift for him. Mind control. The demoness' eyes flickered as she controlled the magicians who had lost consciousness. The magicians were completely exhausted both mentally and physically, hence they had no resistance against the advanced psychic spell. The 8 magicians rose to their feet like zombies before pouncing at Shigua. These 8 magicians who were being controlled were fairly outstanding in terms of strength. Even though Shigua had half his foot into the super level, it was fairly troublesome for him to fight them all at once. "You're forcing them to overdraft their energy to cast spells, damn you!" yelled Shigua. The magicians had spent all their energy on the demon's sealing ice formation. They were now expending their life forces as the demoness forced them to cast spells in their current state. Which is why you should be very careful when fighting against them. They will die easily if you hurt them, and even if you don't, they will still die of fatigue. The demoness figure rippled with her laughter. Most of the experts in the villa were either crippled or exhausted from the fight against the fiery sorceress. Zhao Yulin and Shigua, who were all that was left, were set up by the demoness and were in a pinch before they could make a move against her. The demoness' greatest threat was the fiery sorceress. Since Chen Yi had eliminated the fiery sorceress for her, she could easily handle the rest. The demoness never stopped laughing. She was very satisfied with how her plan worked out, as all her problems had been settled. The only thing left was to wait for the fire calamity fruit to ripen and eat it in one bite. Speaking of which, the fire calamity fruit should be ripening any time now. Jiang Feng was granted such overwhelming power after eating the fire calamity fruit. Would she become an unstoppable demon after eating the fire calamity fruit, too? Thunderbolt. Yaksha. The demoness was figuring how she would enjoy the fire calamity fruit when a bolt of lightning flashed across the sky, forking into 5 arcs and lunging at her like a claw. The attic was shattered into pieces by the lightning strike. 5 scorched pits stood out on the building. If the demoness had not reacted in time and established a defense, she would have been disintegrated by the lightning too. The demoness jumped out from the attic that was now a pile of debris and landed on the ground. She glared at the person who had attacked her. "Kid, you're tired of living." The demoness screamed, totally sounding like a ghost. The real threats were all eliminated. The demoness thought she could simply enjoy the outcome, yet a little intermediate magician dared to challenge her. She had never treated a minor character like him seriously. "What do I have to say to a burned monster like you? Hurry up and die, so you can reincarnate as an animal with smoother skin." Fiery fist. Mo Fan's fists ignited as he threw punches at the demoness furiously. The demoness immediately dodged aside. When she turned around and realized that the kid was being serious, she burst into a disdainful laugh. "I'm too lazy to kill you, yet you're stupid enough to come asking for your death." Wind disc. Sky snare. Before the demoness could finish, a gust of tornado appeared and swept across the flames. It loomed over the area where the demoness was standing and raised strong walls of wind. Unfortunately, before the walls were established, the demoness let out a piercing cry. A force originating from her soul struck where Zhang Xiaohe was standing, suppressing Zhang Xiaohu's mind forcibly, stopping him from controlling the wind. The strange wave of energy was not single targeting. It was able to spread to nearby targets like a chain of lightning. As a result, Zhao Manyan and Nanyu, who were both casting spells, were struck by the force, preventing them from being able to focus, let alone draw their star patterns. Spirit Wall. Xingxia's voice rose. Her soft hair drifted despite the absence of wind. Her eyes were closed while her arms were fully extended. An invisible spirit wall appeared in front of the group rapidly. The soul impact cast by the demoness was nullified when it collided with the spirit wall. Meanwhile, Zhang Xiaohou had regained control of his wind spell. The sky snare continued to contract. The drawings of star patterns of the others were no longer disturbed and were completing at a fast pace. Nice one, Xingxia, cried Zhang Xiaohou and Zhao Manyan simultaneously. Mo Fan turned around and saw the pale-faced Xingxia with her eyes open and a faint smile on her face. I'll handle the disturbance from her psychic element, said Xingxia. Nodded Mo Fan heavily. Without a certain degree of protection, it was impossible to cast any useful spell against a magician who had both the psychic and curse elements. She needs to focus on controlling the demon torture and the 8 advanced magicians. She won't be able to use her psychic element and curse element on us. We can defeat her if we work together, Xingxia told the group. Chapter End. Versatile Mage. Chapter 505. Psychic Element vs Psychic Element. The demoness was agitated. She had set up a plan to kill the incredibly powerful fiery sorceress, while both Zhao Yulin and Shi Guo were unable to break free from her control. She initially thought the rest of the weaklings would run for their lives. To her surprise, they had teamed up against her instead. Who do you think you are? Screamed the demoness. The cloth on her face was ripped apart as the force she exerted was too strong. The white cloth fell to the ground, revealing a face that had changed beyond recognition. Her scorched facial features were eerily melted together. It was the face of a monster. However, regardless of how ugly, disgusting, and miserable she had become, no one would show her any compassion, as inside the disgusting body lay an even more corrupt heart that was fully rotten. Her third element was earth. Watch out for her eyes. Nanyu reminded him immediately. The demoness used to be an infamous criminal around Dunhuang region. Many magicians had died at her hands, including the military instructor whom Nanyu respected the most, so she already knew the demoness elements. The demoness was already diverting her attention to handle 2 sides. She was using her curse element to control Zhao Yulin, and her psychic element to control the 8 magicians to handle Shi Guo. The only element left was the earth element. The earth element did not have many destructive spells. The basic spell was earth element, the intermediate spell was rock barrier. One was used for movement, while the other was for defense. However, the advanced spell petrify was an absolutely terrifying killing spell. The only ones left that were still able to battle were the young intermediate magicians. Petrify was extremely deadly to them. Once they were turned into statues, they would not be able to preserve their lives. As Nanyu predicted, the demoness jumped onto the burning debris in another direction. The brown star patterns were forming a 3-dimensional structure surrounding the demoness. As each of the stars and their orbits began to emit a tremendous glow, the demoness eyes had turned into the terrifying eyes of Medusa. Eyes of Medusa, able to turn anyone staring into them into lifeless statues. The demoness petrify was fired in an arc. The group could see a layer of gray-white shadow spreading in the direction rapidly. Both the wooden debris on the ground and the water sprinkling out from the fountain were completely turned into stone, including the water drops. The force of petrify spread rapidly, aiming to turn Mo Fan, Xingxia and Zhao Manyan into lifeless statues. The gray-white shadow was less than 100 meters away. Stand behind me. Zhao Manyan stepped in front of Mo Fan and Xingxia. A golden glow burst out freely. Zhao Manyan adeptly controlled the light to form a barrier in front of him. The golden barrier stood in front of the group. As the shadow of petrify made contact with the barrier, the glowing transparent wall shuddered vigorously, its light dimming. Although the force of petrify was showing some sign of slowing down, the light protection rampart was not enough to resist the advanced spell. It was on the verge of collapsing. Zhao Manyan knew the light protection Rampart alone was unable to finish the job. He immediately summoned his precious shield equipment. As soon as the light wall disappeared, the shield equipment replaced it. The arc-shaped energy had already extinguished the fire in their surroundings. The debris scattering across the ground was dyed gray-white. Their spot was the only place unaffected. Departing nether shield, Mo Fan immediately summoned his shield equipment when he saw Zhao Mannion in a pinch. The two shields barely stopped the petrify from advancing forward. However, the two valuable shields had also turned into solid rocks. The slightest force would shatter them into pieces. Water barrier. Circulation. Zhao Mannion cast a defensive water spell, trying to stop the claw of the petrify from extending any further. His forehead was covered in sweat, clearly showing the great effort he was putting in to hold his ground. Rock barrier. Zhang Xiaohou set up his defense too, knowing that they were still in danger. Ice lock. Ice lock. At the same time, the voices of a man and a woman appeared from the other side. A few thick ice chains lunged in the direction to protect them, clanking noisily to protect them. You guys. Zhao Mannion glanced at Mu Xiu and Mu Tingle with joy when he saw the ice chains. Mu Xiu was proud and arrogant. He and Zhao Mannion were descendants of their respective renowned families, and were not fond of one another. Despite that, the doings of the demoness raised their hackles. They could not stand it any longer. You guys have no chance against an advanced magician, but it will be a different story with our help, said Mu Xiu with a cold humph. Shit, will you die if you stop acting so cocky? Your ice element is effective against her earth element. Do it quick. Cursed Zhao Mannion. The defense of the earth element was able to resist most of the destructive spells, including the imperious lightning element, yet it was fairly ineffective against the penetrating frost of ice element spells, as the frost would freeze the rocks, too. The brother and sister of Mu clan cast ice spread simultaneously. Both of them had ice seeds, thus when the frost descended upon the place and produced a crackling noise, the power of the petrify clearly diminished. The demoness face shuddered when she saw that even the two kids from the Mu clan were challenging her. Very well, I'll dip the fire calamity fruit in your blood before eating it. The demoness voice was screechy, and due to her psychic element, it felt like a ghost was screaming right into their ears. The young magicians immediately covered their ears when they heard the cry. However, the cry was not just a normal sound, but a curse implanted in their souls. Even the deaf could not stop themselves from hearing the scream. It's fear, bear with me for a second, reminded Xinxia when she realized that the demoness had cast another psychic spell on the group. Without the threat from psychic element, Xinxia was able to draw her star patterns with ease. As the 7 stars aligned together, the channeling of her psychic spell was completed. Spirit Ripple. Pacify. The basic psychic spell, Spirit Ripple. The ripple with calming effect slowly filled the disturbed hearts of the group. They were unable to focus to cast the spells due to the ghastly cries in their hearts, but the soothing ripple was like a sacred melody, cleansing the demons in their hearts, including the strange fear they were experiencing. You dare mess it up, you little bitch, screamed the demoness when she saw that her psychic spell was nullified by Xinxia once again, her eyes full of hatred. Chapter end. Please guys like, comment, share, and subscribe.